Hey, this is Mike with the One Stop Co-op Shop, and today I'm looking at Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs, the micro dungeon crawler from Cephalofair. And no disclaimer for this one, a generous member of our Discord sent me a copy of the game. Buttons and Bugs is basically a smaller version of Gloomhaven, though it maintains almost all of the core rules of the bigger game. You'll be moving your little figure around on this board while enemies chase around you, and you'll generally be trying to defeat them in each scenario. Enemy activations are controlled by die rolls, as are modifiers to your attacks. And on each of your turns, you play combos of cards resolving a top and bottom ability, generally some movement and attack, to try to defeat the enemies and protect yourself. And you'll progress through a generally linear campaign until you reach the end with whichever character you've chosen to play. So let's discuss 5 key things to know about Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs. So first, my number 5 point is a mix for my taste, and that's the accessibility of the game. And on the positive side, look how tiny and quick this is to set up. You can throw the game together on a very small surface. I played it like on my school desk, play a game in 20, maybe 30 minutes max, and clean it all up again. And it's all in a tiny package, easy to carry around. It is just incredibly impressive that they fit so much gameplay into such a small package. But on the negative side, while this might seem like a perfect entry point for Gloomhaven, it's sort of odd because they don't have a full rulebook in the game, they just have a learn to play. And then to get the full experience, you need to basically go read the entire rulebook for Gloomhaven online. So it's a little bit weird, it does challenge the accessibility a little bit. I wouldn't even necessarily recommend this as your first Gloomhaven game, I might suggest Jaws of a Lion, but still, it is impressive what they got into the package. My next point, number 4, is also a bit of a mix, and that's the campaign system. So you are progressing through 20 scenarios, although some of them are character specific, so you won't play them all, but generally this is a fully linear campaign. And it seems like a lot of content, and in a way it is, but like a lot of Gloomhaven scenarios, the majority of them boil down to just kill everything, and only the terrain and enemies will change a little bit, but those little changes can be very impactful on the tactical picture in a given scenario and how your character approaches them. But I like dungeon crawlers and tactical games with a bit more going on, and except for a few scenarios here, they're almost all kill the enemy. There's also a storyline about you shrinking. It's fine. It does the job. The narrative is well written. It's not really that super interesting, but it's okay. Going next to my number 3 point, this is a pretty much full pro with some caveats, and that is the character variety and leveling in the game. So the big pro part of this is how many characters you get. You get 6 characters, and these feel like hugely different full Gloomhaven characters in this tiny package. It is ridiculously impressive. Each one has a variety of unique action cards that will level up as you go through. They have their own levels for their combat results that are slightly different character to character. And as you defeat scenarios, you unlock items, and you can choose and change your items each mission to kind of match the challenges and the enemies you're going up against. Now, the caveat on the slightly negative side, you don't level up and change nearly as much as you do in Big Daddy Gloomhaven and Frosthaven. Your character class stays pretty similar. When you upgrade your action cards, they pretty much just become, for most of the characters, a slightly better version of the same action, so it doesn't really feel like things change very much. You might get bored after 15 scenarios straight. But let's get to a full unabashed pro for my number 2, and that's the card play in the game. I've always loved the core Gloomhaven mechanic of playing 2 cards and then deciding which top and bottom action you want to do. It's very tactically engaging, along with the choice of which initiative numbers you want to use. But Buttons and Bugs goes a really cool, interesting step further, where when you use cards on their A side, they flip to their B side. And this creates really interesting play structures and decisions, because sometimes you'll have certain cards that combo in a situation really well with like the A and B side together, or you really want to get to a certain B side quickly because you need something on it. Maybe you need to like heal away a condition that's really messing with you. And all the other great Gloomhaven stuff is here, like having to rest and running out of cards. I know not everybody likes that your resources decrease as Gloomhaven goes, but it does make the puzzle more interesting and more challenging, and you can use cards to defend against damage. Just an awesome system overall, and I really think even if you've played regular Gloomhaven and Frosthaven, Buttons and Bugs adds some really neat touches all its own. Finally, my number 1 is also a pro, and that's the tactical movement and choices in the game. And this, again, is something that I think Gloomhaven does well, especially when they have scenarios that let you use terrain in an interesting way. And because the board is so small here, and they always have very impactful terrain on the board, I feel like it's almost more consistently interesting than regular Gloomhaven. And also, you're always in the action. You don't have any of that like movement kind of annoyance that I feel with Gloomhaven when you have to like go from one room to another and you just have to waste turns kind of moving toward a door while running out of cards. I've never loved that. But what I like the best here, and this goes to my preferences for dungeon crawlers in general, is the predictability of the enemy actions. Because you have a 1/3 chance of what each enemy can do, and you can see right there written for you what their options are, I feel like your tactical options are more interesting and more predictable. Cutting out some of the enemy options and not having as much variety in the ways they activate makes the tactics really sing, at least for me. So overall, Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs is an amazing achievement that they crammed so much game at such a cheap value into this box. But at the same time, who's this game for? It's a little odd to say. If you're a big Gloomhaven fan, if you enjoy the series already, and you want a way to get that Gloomhaven hit in a quick package, this is ideal, and you're going to have a really easy time learning the rules because it's almost exactly the same as regular Gloomhaven. But if you've never played Gloomhaven before, I don't know, I guess this is a recommend. It is easier to play one character than a bunch, but they do make the barrier to entry a little bit odd for new players. I still might recommend Jaws of the Lion for sort of the real Gloomhaven experience over this one for your first purchase, and then maybe go to Buttons and Bugs or expand to the big Gloomhaven Frosthaven boxes. And if you want to see the game in action, Jason did a playthrough a while back. You can check that out. Thanks for watching, everybody. Good gaming, and I'll see you at the next stop.